Deep in the heart of Transylvania, there's a forest where nothing grows right. The trees twist, they bend at impossible angles. Some spiral like corkscrews reaching toward the sky. And people who enter this forest sometimes don't come back, not in the way you think. They come back, but they've lost time. 5 minutes feels like 5 hours, or 5 hours vanish in what feels like seconds. They come back with burns they can't explain, with memories they don't have, with photographs of things that shouldn't exist. They call it the Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania's Bermuda Triangle, the most haunted forest in the world. And over the past 70 years, dozens of people have entered these woods and experienced things that science cannot explain. This is not a horror movie. This is not folklore. This is documented, investigated, studied by scientists, military officials, and researchers from around the world. This is the story of a forest that refuses to follow the rules, and the people who tried to understand why. Let me take you to Cluj-Napoca, Romania, a beautiful medieval city in the heart of Transylvania. Yes, Transylvania is real. It's not just Dracula stories and vampire legends. It's an actual region in central Romania with mountains, forests, and about 6 million people living normal lives. Just outside Cluj-Napoca, there's a forest, about 250 hectares. Not huge, you could walk across it in a couple of hours. It's called Hoia Baciu Forest, named after a shepherd who disappeared there with his flock of 200 sheep centuries ago. They were never found, not the shepherd, not a single sheep. The locals avoid it. They've avoided it for generations. They say the forest is cursed, that the devil lives there, that if you enter, you might not leave the same person who went in. For a long time, this was just local superstition, old wives' tales, the kind of stories every region has about some spooky place where bad things supposedly happen. But then, in the 1960s, things changed because someone took a photograph. August 18, 1968, a biologist named Alexandru Sift is walking through Hoia Baciu Forest. He's taking pictures of the unusual vegetation, the twisted trees, the strange clearings where nothing grows. He's not looking for anything supernatural. He's a scientist. He's studying why the trees grow so strangely, why there's a perfectly circular clearing in the middle of the forest where absolutely nothing will grow, not grass, not weeds, nothing. Alexandru takes his photographs, develops them, and sees something he didn't see when he was there. In one photo, there's an object in the sky, disc-shaped, metallic-looking, clear as day. It wasn't there when he took the picture. He didn't see it with his eyes, but the camera captured it. The image is analyzed, no evidence of tampering, no double exposure, no darkroom tricks. The image is genuine. Whatever that object is, it was there, in the sky, over Hoia Baciu Forest on August 18, 1968. The photograph goes public. It becomes one of the most famous UFO photographs in history. And suddenly, Hoia Baciu Forest isn't just a local curiosity, it's an international phenomenon. Researchers descend on the forest, paranormal investigators, UFO enthusiasts, scientists, military personnel, all wanting to understand what's happening in these woods. And what they find is stranger than anyone expected. Emil Barnia, a military technician, visits the forest in the early 1970s. He's camping with his girlfriend and 2 friends. They're having a picnic in a clearing. It's a normal, sunny day. Then they see it. A disc-shaped object, silent, moving slowly through the sky above the trees. Barnea grabs his camera, manages to take several photographs before the object accelerates and disappears. The photographs are clear, multiple angles, multiple witnesses. The object is real. It's there. The Romanian military analyzes the images. They confirm the photographs are genuine, no tampering, no tricks. Something was in the sky over Hoia Baciu Forest that day. And this is where things get interesting, Because it's not just UFO sightings, it's everything else. People entering the forest report feeling watched, an overwhelming sensation that something is observing them, even when they're completely alone. They report electronic devices malfunctioning, cameras stopping, phones dying even with full batteries, compasses spinning wildly, GPS losing signal. They report physical symptoms, nausea, headaches, anxiety attacks that come out of nowhere, burns on their skin that appear while they're in the forest. No source, no explanation, just sudden burns that hurt and later fade. And then there's the time distortion. This is the part that's hardest to explain. Multiple people, over decades, report the same thing. They enter the forest, they walk for what feels like a few minutes. They check their watch when they leave. Hours have passed. 5 hours, 6 hours, time they can't account for. Time that's just gone. Or the opposite. They walk for what feels like hours. They're exhausted. They're sure it's been most of the day. They check their watch. 20 minutes have passed. The sun is still in the same position. Time doesn't work right in Hoia Baciu Forest. A shepherd entered the forest in the 1990s. He was looking for his sheep. He walked into the trees. 5 hours later, he emerged. But he had no memory of those 5 hours. None. He didn't remember searching, didn't remember what he saw. 5 hours of his life just missing from his mind. His clothing was different than when he entered. He'd been wearing a modern jacket. He came out wearing clothes from the 1950s. His watch had stopped at the exact moment he entered the forest. The sheep were found, all of them, scattered throughout the forest. But they were terrified. They wouldn't enter the clearing at the center. Nothing would make them approach that spot. Speaking of that clearing, the dead zone, the circle in the middle of the forest where nothing grows. Scientists have studied this clearing for decades. They've analyzed the soil. It's perfectly normal, the same composition as the rest of the forest. There's no chemical reason why plants won't grow there. They've tried planting things, seeds, saplings. Nothing takes root. Or if it does take root, it dies within days. The ground is fine, the drainage is fine, sunlight reaches the clearing. Everything should grow. Nothing does. The clearing is almost perfectly circular, about 100 feet across. The trees around it bend away from it, like they're trying to avoid it, like something is pushing them back. People who stand in this clearing report the strongest feelings of unease, of being watched, of something being wrong. Many refuse to stay there for more than a few seconds. Instruments brought to the clearing show unusual readings, electromagnetic fluctuations, temperature variations, radiation slightly higher than the surrounding area. Not dangerous, just different. And photographs taken in the clearing often show anomalies, orbs of light, shadows where there shouldn't be shadows, faces that no one saw when the picture was taken but appear in the developed image. In 2002, a group of paranormal researchers spent a night in the clearing. They set up cameras, recording equipment, electromagnetic field detectors, the works. Around 2 a.m., all their equipment failed simultaneously. Cameras stopped recording, batteries drained instantly, even their flashlights went dark. They were in complete darkness in the middle of the forest. When the equipment came back on, 15 minutes later, they checked the recordings. The last 15 minutes were missing. Not corrupted, not static, just gone, like someone had edited them out. But nobody had touched the equipment. One researcher, a woman named Adriana Kojakar, had a nosebleed during those 15 minutes. She doesn't remember getting it, doesn't remember anything from those 15 minutes, but her face was covered in blood when the lights came back on. The team left immediately. Adriana developed severe headaches for weeks afterward. They faded eventually, but she refuses to talk about what might have happened in those missing 15 minutes, says she doesn't remember, and maybe doesn't want to. Then there are the reports from people who've gotten lost in the forest. The forest isn't that big. You shouldn't be able to get seriously lost. Walk in any direction for 30 minutes and you'll hit a road or a field. But people do get lost. They walk in circles. They try to navigate out and end up back where they started. The trees all look the same. The paths shift, or seem to shift.
People swear they're walking north and somehow end up back at the southern edge of the forest. A hiker in 2010 entered the forest in the morning. He had a GPS, a compass, a map. He planned to hike through and exit on the other side. Should have taken 2 hours maximum. He walked all day. The GPS couldn't get a signal. The compass spun randomly. The map was useless because nothing matched. The clearings weren't where the map said they should be. The paths didn't line up. As the sun was setting, he panicked, tried to run in what he thought was the direction of the nearest road, ran for what felt like an hour, came out of the trees. He was on the same side of the forest he'd entered from. 7 hours had passed. He'd walked in a massive circle, or the forest had somehow brought him back to where he started. He had scratches on his arms he didn't remember getting. His backpack was missing items, a water bottle, a flashlight, a notebook, gone. He didn't remember losing them, didn't remember setting them down. And his camera, which had been full of pictures from earlier in the day, was empty. All the photos deleted. The memory card was there, it worked fine, but every photo he'd taken in the forest was gone. Scientists have tried to study these phenomena systematically. The Romanian government has funded research. Military teams have conducted investigations. Universities have sent researchers. What they found is consistent. Something unusual is happening in Hoia Baciu Forest, but what it is, nobody can definitively say. The electromagnetic fields are real. They've been measured multiple times by multiple teams. The forest has higher levels of electromagnetic activity than the surrounding area, particularly in the clearing. Some scientists think there might be geological factors, underground minerals or rock formations that create these electromagnetic fields, but extensive geological surveys haven't found anything that would explain it. The time distortion reports are harder to study because they're subjective, but the number of people reporting similar experiences is significant. And these aren't all paranormal enthusiasts. Many are skeptical hikers, scientists, people who entered the forest specifically to debunk the legends. One theory is that the electromagnetic fields affect brain function, that they cause temporal disorientation, make people perceive time differently than it's actually passing. But this doesn't explain the watches that stop, the devices that fail, the missing hours that leave no memories. Another theory involves infrasound, very low-frequency sound waves that humans can't consciously hear, but that can affect the brain, cause feelings of unease, anxiety, even hallucinations. Some natural formations can produce infrasound under certain conditions, but infrasound doesn't explain the photographs, the documented UFO sightings, the physical evidence. The UFO connection is the most controversial aspect. Multiple credible sightings, multiple photographs, witnesses including military personnel, scientists, people with nothing to gain from making false reports. Some researchers believe Hoia Baciu Forest is what's called a window area, a place where the barrier between our world and something else is thinner, where unusual phenomena are more likely to occur, where things from elsewhere can break through. Others think it might be related to underground caverns or tunnels, that there could be entire systems beneath the forest that affect what happens above, that create the electromagnetic anomalies that somehow distort time and space. There are legends that go back centuries, before modern science, before cameras and electromagnetic detectors. The local people have always said this forest is different, that it's cursed, that the devil himself walks among the trees. There are stories of villagers who entered the forest and came out changed, speaking languages they never learned, having memories of places they'd never been. One story tells of a 5-year-old girl who disappeared in the forest in the 1950s. She reappeared 5 years later, still 5 years old, wearing the same clothes, no memory of where she'd been. She hadn't aged a single day. This story is harder to verify. It's passed down through local accounts, but it's persistent. Multiple people tell versions of it, and it matches the pattern of other disappearances and strange returns. In recent years, Hoia Baciu has become something of a tourist destination. People come from around the world to experience the haunted forest, to try to photograph anomalies, to feel the strange energy, to see if they'll experience missing time or strange phenomena. Most don't experience anything unusual. They walk through, take some photos of the twisted trees, visit the clearing, feel a bit of unease maybe, then they leave, and everything is normal. But some do experience something, even now, even with the forest becoming more commercialized. A group of American tourists in 2019 entered the forest. They were filming for a YouTube video about haunted locations. They set up cameras, did the whole paranormal investigation thing, spent several hours in the forest. When they reviewed their footage, there were sections they didn't remember filming, conversations they didn't remember having. At one point, one of them is talking directly to the camera about seeing lights in the trees. He has no memory of this, doesn't remember seeing lights, but he's clearly there on camera, describing them in detail. Another member of the group developed a rash that night, covering her arms and neck. It looked like burns. It hurt. She went to a doctor in Cluj-Napoca. The doctor couldn't determine what caused it, said it looked like radiation burns, but she hadn't been exposed to any radiation source. The burns faded over a week, left no scars. So what is Hoia Baciu Forest? What's really happening there? The honest answer is nobody knows. 70 years of research, hundreds of investigations, thousands of visitors, and we still don't have a definitive explanation. The scientific community is divided. Some researchers believe there are natural explanations for everything: electromagnetic anomalies, geological factors, psychological effects, mass hysteria reinforced by expectation and legend. Others believe there's something genuinely anomalous occurring, something that current science can't explain, whether that's extraterrestrial activity, interdimensional phenomena, or something else entirely.
What we can say for certain is this: the electromagnetic readings are real. Multiple teams with calibrated instruments have measured them. The forest has higher electromagnetic activity than it should. The photographs are real. The Alexandru Sift photograph from 1968, the Emil Barnia photographs from the 1970s, dozens of others, analyzed by experts, no evidence of fakery. The experiences are real. Too many people, too many consistent reports. Not everyone can be lying or mistaken. Something is happening in Hoia Baciu Forest, whether it's natural or supernatural, whether it's from this world or beyond it, it's real. The forest remains. The twisted trees still grow at impossible angles. The clearing still refuses to support life. The electromagnetic anomalies continue, and people still enter, some seeking answers, some seeking thrills, some hoping to experience something unexplainable. Most leave with stories, photographs, memories of an eerie place that feels somehow wrong. Some leave with more: missing time, unexplained injuries, experiences they can't rationalize. And a very few don't leave at all, at least not in the way they entered. The shepherd who lost his 200 sheep, the girl who didn't age, the people who emerged from the forest different than they were before. Romania doesn't advertise Hoia Baciu the way some countries might. It's not a major tourist attraction. The government acknowledges the forest exists, acknowledges the reports, but they don't promote it, don't encourage visitors. The forest just is, strange and unexplained, a mystery in the heart of Transylvania. Scientists continue to study it. Not many. The funding isn't there for major research programs, but individuals, small teams, people fascinated by the mystery. They collect data, measure, document, try to find patterns that might explain what's happening. Maybe someday we'll understand.
Maybe we'll develop instruments that can detect whatever force is at work in those woods. Maybe we'll find the geological formation or atmospheric condition that creates the anomalies. Or maybe Hoia Baciu Forest is what it appears to be, a place where the normal rules don't apply, where time bends, where other things can break through into our world, where the unexplainable simply is. There's a forest in Romania where the trees grow twisted, where time doesn't work right, where people see things that shouldn't exist. Scientists have studied it, photographed it, measured every anomaly they could detect. And after 70 years, we still don't understand it. Maybe that's the real story of Hoia Baciu Forest. Not that it's haunted or cursed or a portal to another dimension, but that it's a reminder that the world is bigger and stranger than we like to admit, that there are still places where our science can't explain everything, where mystery remains. The forest is still there, still twisting, still defying explanation. And if you ever find yourself in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, you can visit it. Walk among the spiral trees, stand in the clearing where nothing grows, feel the strange energy that so many have reported. Just don't be surprised if time moves differently than you expect, or if you come back with memories you can't quite explain, or if your photographs show something you didn't see with your eyes. Because that's what happens in Hoia Baciu Forest. That's what's been happening for centuries, and that's what will probably keep happening, whether we understand it or not.